So, welcome back to Sailing Northern Breeze, the wrap-up.
2024, it was an epic year.
Haircut, collar on a shirt.
Hair done.
I'm not on a boat.
Yes, we're back home and moving a long ways around a house because it's so much bigger than being on the boat. Can't decide whether I like that or not like that at this point. But I do like having a washing machine and dryer right in my steps away. That's a win.
I miss the boat. I miss being outside all day, every day. It's good to be home and get some good night's sleep and no worries. But let's talk about 2024, season 3. How did it go?
Well, for me, it was epic. It was maybe the second best sailing season yet. With the first being crossing the ocean, of going to Greenland and Iceland. I didn't like crossing the ocean, but I liked going those places. Yeah, and I like seeing the whales. Sorry for interrupting.
I guess I look at it, there's 3 seasons so far. The first season was just an epic adventure. Sailing with icebergs, sailing to Greenland, sailing to the Arctic Circle. The epic adventure, and that was it. The second season was about, for me, weather. Weather.
Well, we got late.
We got late and we ended up in the North Sea in September and October. And
yeah, it was a rough start.
Slowed us down. Still great. Sailing the Hebrides.
Oh, absolutely. And Shetland and
over to Norway.
And, I mean, yeah, no question.
But this season, it was about culture. The Baltic Sea and the people.
It was, and sailing. So, you know, we're from the Great Lakes. We sail on Lake Erie. It was a bit like returning home from that perspective. It was just, it was delightful. The archipelagos that we sailed in and that we went through, you know, those were beautiful. Challenging in the Northern Breeze, but beautiful. And like when we sailed from Åland to Finland, right through, and we were actually sailing, and the winds were great, and it was deep enough. It was brilliant. That was a brilliant sail.
The archipelago was beautiful. The little islands, the rocks, like the Canadian Shield, it's granite, so amazing to look at. Not so good for anchoring.
No, those were the challenges, right, this year, I think. For me, it was certainly a challenge this year, climbing over the bow of the boat to try to haul in the bow because everything was bow tied without fingers. That was...
without fingers?
Yeah, without finger docks.
Yes.
So you couldn't, typically, right, I lasso a cleat, pull us over, get off the boat, and we're tied up. Super simplistic. But doesn't always work quite that simply. But if there's no finger docks, there's nothing to lasso. Yeah, it was a challenge to get off the bow and the front of the boat contained. I mean, we grabbed the buoys in the back, or the balls, or the mooring balls, or whatever you want to call it. But it was a challenge for sure. And the granite anchoring was like we couldn't.
And then the other part of anchoring was hundreds and hundreds of miles of amazing beaches. You think California's got beaches? Mm-hmm. No way. All around Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Germany, Poland. I don't know. Is it 800 miles? Is it 1,000 miles of beach? Seems like a good place to anchor. But Marie wouldn't let me anchor there.
So unfortunately, I mean, this was all part of the culture, right? And this is a throwback to the culture, what the culture went through and what the Baltic states have been through. But the beaches were lined with minefields, and they are sweeping, right? But they're just not getting where they need to go to open up that area to anchor.
So every year, NATO still does mine sweeping up there, and the season we were there, they pulled up 11 mines.
Yeah.
So it's still happening, so we can't anchor up there.
Right.
So that's disappointing. But the beaches, beautiful.
Incredible. And amber, ooh, I found some. It was so exciting. Yeah, so that was all really epic.
We saw 14 countries. We didn't realize it until at the end, near the end, we started counting them up. Holy cow. We're calling Åland a country because they're semi-autonomous.
They prefer to be called a country, yes. Yeah. They have their own flag, thank you. Yeah. So with 14 countries, there's 14 cultures. Maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much. It was just a bombardment of differences, right? From Denmark and Norway and Sweden, the Scandinavian countries, to the Eastern European countries of Latvia and Poland. And then you have Finland, and I kind of consider Finland to be all of its own kind of country, right? It doesn't follow
particularly Scandinavian.
Nor does it follow the Eastern European.
Right.
So it was an incredible adventure to go to Finland.
That's where we saw the water spout sailing from Helsinki to Tallinn in Estonia. Didn't expect that.
Yeah, we didn't expect that. The weather was good though.
Up there it was good, yeah. Wind on the nose, but otherwise good.
Well, wind is always on the nose in the northern breeze. It doesn't matter which direction we're going, the wind's headed against us. But I thought the weather was good. The weather, we didn't get rained out a lot. It wasn't horrendous winds. The sea states weren't bad because the Baltic is reasonably shallow, and so we could sail without a lot of current or tides. There were no tides. That made it easy.
You take advantage of the long days and sail regardless of tides, right? Which is an issue outside of the Baltic. So the Baltic was great for very low salt. So the boat's not covered in salt all the time. No tides, very little current. The square waves, like the Great Lakes, our boat doesn't like square waves, short, choppy waves, because it's shallow. We like the big ocean swells. I prefer ocean sailing.
Yeah, but I liked sailing the Baltic. I only like sailing the Baltic, I think, because we had such good weather.
Yeah.
And because we got to race Catherine and Gavin. Whether they were racing or not, we were racing.
So that's an interesting, and the people. So we met amazing people. So not just the people on the shore, in all the harbors, so friendly. When we lived in Brazil, I worked with a guy named Alexandra. He's since moved to Sweden. He had us over when we got into Gothenburg, and we did a fika with him and his boys and his wife Olga. They wandered us around the neighborhood.
Yep, we went to the beach. It was beautiful.
Yep.
When we got to Mariehamn in Åland, right, we met some young sailors there who were incredibly helpful. They gave us places to stop along the way from Åland, actually all the way past Belgium.
Yes.
Right, they gave us advice, and but for in general area of Åland, the archipelago, Finland, and Tallinn, they gave us a lot of advice about where we could get
Very specific. Yeah.
our boat and how to go from place to place and what we would see in different places. So we really appreciated them.
Well in Åland. We got our boat survey. Thank you, Lars. And I'm not sure I am sure I'm going to pronounce his last name wrong. Lars Erik Hagblom. Thanks for the survey. We needed it for our insurance company.
The Northern Breeze is from Finland. That's where she was built. You know, we may have seen 1 or 2 Baltics in our lifetime other than her, and those were out east by Annapolis. So we get into the archipelago between Åland and Finland, and we start to see Baltics. A lot of 38s, but we see Baltics and a lot of swans because they're all from around there. Swans are just down the street from Baltic and for a shipyard. We pull into Hanko, Finland, and there is another 43 Baltic, and it was very exciting. It was exciting to meet these guys who were on this other Baltic, and they were still racing, and it was a 43, so a little bit different layout. But they had just won the
Hanko to Gotland race, 600 miles. They won it for the 6th time. 6 times. In a boat from the 1980s. They're still winning races.
Yeah. So that was epic and really a lot of fun. And they helped us because when our rigging broke, our turnbuckles cracked, they were the ones that started giving us names of places and people to see along the route to get our parts.
And then next, Gavin and Catherine, we met them on the next time we had bought them. We were going into a harbor, and we spent a couple of weeks traveling with them. Yes.
Yeah, that was really nice too.
Sometimes racing them.
Well, you know, we have different strategies. That's the fun thing about sailing.
Yeah, he'll put up a spinnaker and go offshore.
Yeah.
And with our heel that Marie doesn't like very much, we can pull in tight to the wind, tighter than them. And so we have a different line.
Yeah, and go wing on wing.
Yes.
And yeah, so what ends up happening is they might be faster because, you know, they got a much bigger sail and they're running their spinnaker or gennaker, but we're holding the line. So
they're going further distance.
Yes, so our VMG is better than theirs. So that was kind of fun. So in Kasnask, we met a couple
who helped us get on the dock.
They were from Helsinki, so we went back and hung out with Suvi in Helsinki for a day and enjoyed their company.
Also in Helsinki, we had great help getting our rigging replaced. First from Elmar the rigger, you'll see him in the video, and down at the race start for the Baltic Sea race was set up while we were there, and there's a lot of riggers down there, so Petri Grönlund helped us out as well. We got some of the parts there, but back to the people. We're from across the world, right? And these people are helping us. It's amazing.
Then we met a couple in Germany, Wolfgang and Susan. Wolfgang is the professional chef, retired professional chef that made us mackerel for dinner. Bought it for us and made it for us. That's amazing. Anyways, they were lovely. They had a cabin cruiser and were able to do the channels of the Netherlands.
And then the crew on Mega Fund in Norderney, who helped us get on the docks as well and tie up. And they painted the bottom of their boat like an orca before they headed towards the Caribbean, hoping the orcas would see them as a friend, not a foe.
Yeah, it worked out for
It worked out. They're now in the Caribbean.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that on the Northern Breeze. And then when we got stuck leaving Norderney, the YouTubers A Green Heading helped pull us off, and they were lovely.
And then we spent more than a week in Borkum, where we met Kenneth Larson, an interesting solo sailor from Denmark who was on his way to the Caribbean. I don't know that he got there last winter. I think he got down to the Gibraltar area. Here's to you, Kenneth. I hope you're enjoying the warmth this winter.
And then at the end of the season, back in Belgium, we met Fred and his two lovely dogs, Jack and Jack Jack. They are an amazing crew. Very glad. And then when we come back home, we have an amazing support staff here at home. That's literally what they are. We have Eric and Diane and Jack who are across the street. We have Patty and Rick who's in our backyard. We have brothers and sisters and friends who keep track of us and make sure that we're always safe and moving and where we're supposed to be.
Hey, Jack, thanks for looking after all these plants. They look great. That's it for the people.
So that is, for me, one of the best parts about our excursions. Interestingly enough, I'm not much of an outgoing person. Erin is the one that chit-chats along. And by the way, we missed some people. We missed the
Sea Shepherd, amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
Picking up ghost nets.
So to those who we didn't call out specifically, we apologize because there are just so many of you who have touched our lives and made these journeys incredible. And this year, with going to all of these different places, the little lady that we met in Latvia who was running the marina that day, she was so excited, so excited to meet somebody from North America.
I think that Lapija, and I think that video got the most views this year. She must have told half the people in that country.
Yeah, she was, so all of these people, we remember them in our memories and in our thoughts, and we appreciate how you've touched our lives.
So, things we learned. Schengen, we did it. So we learned from another YouTube channel about Schengen, and we're doing what other seagoing peoples do. That is, cargo ships and super yachts, they don't check into every country that they go to. They're in transit. Just like when you change planes in an airport, say you're going from one country A to country C, but you change planes in country B in the middle, you're in transit and you don't check into that country. So that's what we did. We checked out of Sweden and we made our way to the UK. So for most of that time we were in transit. We made our way to the UK rather circuitously or a long route, but that's what we did and it worked.
Culturally, I don't know how many of us in North America know about the Baltic Way or anything really about the Baltic states. I certainly didn't get that in my history classes. And to learn the resilience of those people, it was grounding. It was humbling and it was grounding. And I don't want to make this political, this discussion, but it was eye-opening to understand what other cultures have suffered that we certainly have not on this continent.
Yeah, after the Russian Revolution, there was a lot of unrest and a lot of domination of Russia, the Baltic states. And then in the Second World War, Hitler and the Nazis marched through these countries, the Baltic states as well as Poland and Netherlands and Belgium. and it created havoc. And then back to the Baltic states after the Second World War in Poland, again, Russian domination and mistreatment, genocide of these people. Terrible, terrible. And yet, today,
They're resilient. I mean, they're adamant that it's not going to happen to them again, for sure. But they are resilient. They are enthusiastic.
for their freedom.
Yeah, for their freedom. That wasn't part of the fun of this trip either, but learning about these people certainly were. Standing on that square where the Baltic Way started in Vilnius. Just understanding, listening to them talk to us about how they would not easily go back to the cultures that they had before.
Yeah, they've had their freedom for only 35 years. Wow.
Yeah, and they're trying to get their culture back, right? Because it was stripped of them.
For 80 years.
Yeah, for a long time. So they're, in my opinion, Lithuania probably had the most of their authentic culture. I'll call it their original culture. And unfortunately, I think Estonia probably got stripped the most of theirs. That's my opinion over a few days of seeing very small areas of these countries. But wow, we could learn a lot about being humble and being resilient.
Yeah, put your head down and keep going forwards, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And Poland, same thing, right?
And Poland, yes.
Bombed flat at the end of the Second World War, most of those cities.
Yeah, just...
Now they have this huge shipbuilding industry.
Yeah, and the guy who gave us the tour, right? So we rarely do tours. We went on a walking tour of Gdansk. And what struck me out of all of it, interestingly enough, was the tour guide never referred to the city as anything but his city. It's my city. My city that's rebuilt. My city that this happened to. My city that I am proud of, right? My country. Some strong emotions towards patriotism.
Yeah, and not just building ships, building sailing boats too.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of industry there.
Yeah, there are, and there's some beautiful boats coming out of Poland.
We've learned a lot.
Yeah, we have learned a lot.
So, where are we going in season 4? South. Finally, we won't be cold.
Do you promise? I actually like the cold, by the way. This year we picked up a little 4-legged friend, which was part of the challenges. I should have had it on our list because it was a bugger to catch the little guy. And this is why I told Erin I wanted to stay cold, because there are mice and rats when you get warm. I think it was the first day that we hit 20 degrees or 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 20 degrees Celsius, and a little 4-legged long-tailed friend came on the boat.
He joined the crew.
And made a whole mess.
We realized we had a mouse. So we took all the food out of all the cupboards and put it in plastic tubs and sealed it all up.
Because he was running his way through our food very quickly.
Put a live trap, 5-gallon bucket where he's going to drop down in to get the bait and not be able to get back out again. Then we could release him. Anyways, he didn't go for the bait. He was not hungry. But we put all the food away.
So we thought.
So what was he eating, Marie?
He was eating coffee. Did you guys know that mice ate coffee for nutrition? So I have these little aluminum foil pouches of coffee. And he ate like 6 of them. All of them. I'm surprised he didn't die of a heart attack.
So for 3 days, this mouse was eating nothing but instant coffee. Imagine the headache he had.
I'm just shocked that he didn't have a heart attack, which would have been an easier way to go because he wouldn't take the bait. So we had to trap him.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had to use a kill trap because he started chewing on labels on the wire harnesses and things. We can't have him chewing on the wiring. So
plus, I needed some sleep. My head is near the pantry, and we would turn off the lights, and I swear it wasn't 2 seconds, and he was at it.
He was coffee buzzing.
Yeah. Anyway, warm is good. 2025. We're going warm.
Boat's in Belgium. So the plan is load up with about 10 kilos of Belgian chocolate and sail down to France and get some red wine.
Yeah, we'll see how well the chocolate holds out for the wine. But I'm looking forward to both of those for sure. And I'm looking forward to going back to England.
Yeah, where there's a sail GP race and maybe we'll catch it.
Yeah, wouldn't that be sweet?
Yeah. And then eventually we'd like to get to Gibraltar. the next season. And again, for Schengen reasons, because we can have our destination is the UK, which is not part of the Schengen zone, and we can check out and sail down to Gibraltar and not be counting Schengen days on our way down there.
And we like to be in places that aren't Schengen at the beginning and at the end of the season, because we end up spending a week or two getting the boat prepped to put in the water, and a week or two prepping the boat to be on the hard for the winter. And so that's just
Shortening our time on the boat.
right, shortening
Sailing.
our but it shortens our number of days within Schengen for sure.
And if we get to Gibraltar, I can see Africa from there, right? I want to go to Morocco.
Yeah, he's really itching to go to Africa. I think that'll be interesting. I have to educate myself because unfortunately I only know what I hear. And so my impressions of the northern section of Africa may not be as safe as what I...
As Europe, yeah.
Yeah, so
we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll learn some things.
Yes, we will.
Okay. So thanks for watching.
Great year. Thank you for joining us on our adventures. It's been great to bring you along.
And she always tells me I don't ask you guys to like and subscribe.
Oh, yes. So please leave a comment. Ask us some questions. We'd love to have a conversation with you. And maybe we'll do this again if we get enough questions and comments to answer them online.
Yes.
And leave us a like. It's really easy.
Yeah, it's just a little click.
And if you subscribe, you'll catch every one of our postings. Also, you can follow us on Instagram. We're Sailing Northern Breeze on Instagram, and we put little shorts up there.
We'll see you on season 4 quite soon.
Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me, my lover stands on golden sands and watches the ships that go sailing.